I received a letter from Brent Spiner. My dearest Gail, yesterday was an interesting day to say the least. While all the men were eating our Valentine's Day lunch and discussing how lucky we are to have you, Zack Knight materialized himself into the middle of the cafeteria on Church of Gail. Why he chose the cafeteria, we have no idea. But it seemed he only wanted the same thing he always does: chaos and misery. Everything stopped. The room fell dead silent, many stopping in their lunch mid-bite to stare at Zack. Zack was dressed in all black, complete with black sunglasses, his flowing black coat ruffling behind him like a cape. He stood with his arms out at his sides, one hip cocked, his lips puckered in sinister contemplation. Nothing except his long coat moved. No one said a word. A casual, hoarse cough came from one end of the room, a shuffle, a sniffle, but the room was otherwise as silent as a desert. The echo of Zack's boots reverberated through the room as he began walking between the rows of tables. This was soon followed by the rough hiss of his hands against the tabletops as he began dragging them down their smooth surfaces, deliberately knocking into everyone's trays as he passed. Utensils clattered, drinks spilled. The tables and the floors alike became awash in a mess of food and drink. For whatever reason, Zack's trajectory narrowed in on a church member we all know as Jonathan Sims, a gay film editor who works for the Gabriel Chana Fox News Network, going by the alias Mr. Buns. Zack reached down, grabbed his juice box, and squeezed, squirting a geyser of red fruit juice all over Jonathan's shirt. Not stopping, he then began scooping mashed potatoes into Jonathan's cup of applesauce, mixing it around until it was an inedible mess. Wait, something's missing, Zack pondered. With a loud, obnoxious snort, Zack leaned over and hawked a loogie into Jonathan's applesauce cup. He then grabbed the back of Jonathan's head and smashed it down into the applesauce. In a huff, a female church member pushed her chair from out behind her as she stood, calling out to Zack Knight, "You can't do that!" Zack swiveled his head around and shot her a look, making her pregnant instantly. "Hey!" she exclaimed angrily, clutching her stomach in unwelcome surprise. Zack then turned back to Jonathan, who was gingerly tending to his applesauce-covered face, grabbed the table, and flipped the entire thing over onto the floor. In doing so, he revealed Jonathan's pet hairless cat named Borgo, who had been sitting at Jonathan's feet beneath the table. "Wow, I love to shave pussy, but that is one ugly ass cat," Zack declared. He then pulled out a .40 from his coat and shot the cat directly in the face. Damn, at least now that poor thing is finally out of its misery. Zack strode on. He stopped at random to flip several more tables, one to the left, one to the right, and then turned back toward the crowd, pretending to be holding a sniper rifle in his hands. Pointing the imaginary sniper rifle into the crowd, he pretended to look down its sight. Glancing at random women, he made pew pew noises and pulled the trigger at them, making all of them pregnant. After all of that, Zack finally turned, his coat whipping behind him. Reaching onto a tray, he stole someone's Valentine's Day heart-shaped cookie, shoved it into his mouth, and walked off, disappearing into thin air as he dematerialized out of the room. Our crime scene investigators were fast on the scene. Soon they had roped off the entire area in yellow "Do Not Cross" tape and were studiously examining the area. On the floor, among the flipped tables, they discovered a worn manila envelope that appeared to have fallen out of Zack's coat pocket during the fiasco. It was addressed to him from Rule 13. Curious as to what it contained, we were eager to open it. However, the envelope warned of deadly AIDS gas if anyone opened it. Our investigators carefully placed the envelope in a plastic Ziploc bag and forwarded it to our scientists. Our scientists bravely sealed themselves into quarantine and, armored up in hazmat suits, cautiously opened the envelope using specialized robotic equipment. The envelope contained a several-year-old letter to Zack Knight from Rule 13. It had been given to him on Valentine's Day, the same year he had been resurrected from hell. That would have been 2012. The contents of this letter have to be seen to be believed. I have attached pictures of the original letter for you to read for yourself. We wondered why Zack Knight would have kept this letter with him in his coat pocket for so long. The conclusion could only be that if he had kept Rule 13's letter all this time, he must have always truly loved her. This could devastate the Jesuit order. We contacted Rule 13 and brought the letter to her. When we told her where it came from, she broke down in tears. Apparently, the letter had been sent along with a pillow that belonged to her, for Zack to keep when they couldn't be together. Rule 13 said, "Now I know it's true that my Zaku Naito had secret love for his 13. He keep this letter in his pocket, near his penis, all this time." Miraculously, Borgo the cat survived being shot in the face by Zack Knight. He spent almost 2 days having facial reconstruction surgery to repair his severely mutilated face and is now recovering at home. For anyone who wishes to send get well cards to Borgo, his address is 2254 1/2 Branden Street, Branden Street, Los Angeles, California 90026. I hope you have been well, my love. To you and all of our followers, I wish you a very, very happy Valentine's Day from myself and all of the men. Your husband, Brent Spiner. Here's what Rule 13 wrote in her letter to Zack Knight. My most attractive Chief Jesuit Master, I am pleased that your stay in hell was a comfortable and brief one. In your absence, I found myself quite perturbed by my newfound solace running the Jesuit order. Although I had intercourse with all of your clones, often sequentially, none of these counterfeits could compare to all of the rape, bestiality, and bukkake we shared on our most passionate of nights. Although our vows to the order demand the abolishment of true love in all of its forms, there are times I feel deep in my heart a warm, fuzzy feeling of blasphemy. Please accept this soft and comfortable head-supporting device as a token of my affection. Its nanofibers should be embedded with my pheromones, a critical component of mammalian pair bonding. I hope that you will continue to abuse your power as an authority figure in order to have unrestrained sexual relations with all of your subordinates, but especially your number one AZN, Rule 13. And then she signed it, and then there's the Jesuit symbol up at the top. I also Skyped with Terence Jenkins regarding what happened this Valentine's. And I asked him, Zack Knight can just make a woman pregnant just by looking at them? And he said, yes, he gained that power to make women pregnant just by looking at them when he was resurrected from hell, when Satan entered his body and made him the Antichrist. And he also has the ability to make straight men turn gay. I asked if he could make me pregnant by looking at me, and hasn't he looked at me many times, so why am I not pregnant? I'm sure he wants to do this. And he says, you're resistant to it, but it's well known what Zack can do. I said, am I the only one who's resistant? He said, well, most women, even looking at his picture, can make some women pregnant. And I asked if they were able to abort those evil babies in those women at Church of Gail that Zack made pregnant. And he said, yes, they aborted all the babies. And I said, well, how does it work? Why am I able to resist Zack Knight and other men can't? He says, it's kind of like with Rule 13's ability to explode men's penises. It's a power that you're born with. It's in your genes. And then he said that Zack always had his powers too, but they just got enhanced when he was resurrected. So apparently, even before he was resurrected from hell, he was able to just make women pregnant by looking at them. It's something in his genes. I know that I'm Jesus Christ's favorite, and that Jesus and Satan have been fighting over me for centuries. I'm the Zechariah 9:15 woman, which I'll be going into in my book. So basically, if Zack decides to make a woman pregnant, he can do it. He uses his power at will. So just looking at him doesn't automatically mean you'll be pregnant. It depends on whether he wants you to be pregnant. So if he wants you to be pregnant, he can make you pregnant, and with the exception of me, which is probably why he's so determined to conquer me, because of the fact that I'm able to resist him, that automatically makes me attractive to him. Doesn't mean he loves me, but he feels that once he conquers me, then he's invincible. My men were a bit touched by 13's reaction to seeing that letter when they gave it to her. And I asked, what was her reaction? And they said she was just crying tears of joy. She said, Terrance told me that the way she talks in that letter is how she talks when she's talking love for Zack. Some of the men think that Zack's behavior at this Valentine's banquet can be explained by his feelings that he can't express for Rule 13. And as a result of the research for my book, I understand why Satan opposes true love. True love is what makes Jesus determined to carry out the Bible and honor all his prophecies. If Satan can convince Jesus that only Jesus has true love and that it's not possible for humans, Satan thinks Jesus might abandon his plan in favor of Satan's and just abolish the Bible. So the men feel that it was Valentine's Day and Zack couldn't come out and express his feelings to Rule 13, so he always does mean things on that day. And Rule 13 loves Zack Knight because she thinks he's a powerful leader and very pure in his devotion to his power. And he's like her perfect match, the only man whose penis she can't explode. She can only make it hard. And she also says that she can tell that there's love, and when he gets involved with her sexually, that there's love in his moves. And I told Terrance that yes, I do believe that Zack Knight loves Rule 13. I think that's the only woman he loves, by the way. But I think he does love her. She said, Rule 13 says his voice gets softer when she comes up in conversation. But I believe that Zack Knight is convinced that he can't get along without Satan. And that's why he won't admit his love for her, because Satan has banned true love in a Jesuit. And Terrance said that sometimes when he's acting, Rule 13 said that sometimes when he's acting mean or cocky, when he talks about 13, he gets real soft. So Terrance thinks that Rule 13 likes Zack being a bully and sees it as part of his character, but that he just gets softer with Rule 13. She says that she gets sexually excited when Zack dominates situations and other men with his prowess. And Zack gets visibly jealous whenever 13 was around Jesus. And he started accusing Jesus of wanting to have sex with 13. And she thinks that Zack doesn't actually believe this, but he impulsively projects his alpha male characteristics onto other men that spend time around his woman. And I told Terrance that there may be some truth to that, because Jesus actually wants to make love to everybody. I'll be going into that in my next book. I believe that Zack is an evil man and knows it, and knows that Jesus cannot accept him as he is to get into heaven. But there's a small part of him that is good that he feels he has to reject to be acceptable to Satan. Because Satan resurrected him from hell, so he feels he's stuck with Satan and that it doesn't stand a chance with Jesus. And then Terrance said, I wonder if he thinks his evil is a kind of good. And I said, oh, of course. He's bought into Satan's lie that it's impossible for true love to exist. He feels like Satan does, that to expect true love from humanity is unrealistic and unfair. And so Terrance says, why did he shoot the cat in the face? He said he probably did that to score brownie points with Satan, to impress Satan, to let Satan know that even though he loves 13, it's because 13 admires him as an evil man. And I said, I think Zack is running a bit scared with Satan right now. Satan has chewed him out for loving 13. And I think Satan tells Zack that you think you love 13, but you don't. So quit deluding yourself that there's such a thing as true love. It's Jesus's fairy tale. And the picture that you see of him is before his cat was shot. So the cat's all covered in bandages now and recovering from surgery.